Chinese internet is waging a war against those who were involved in the passing of Menglong, and now it has expanded to 31 people on that list. According to a thread post following the event of the passing of Alan Yu, the perpetrators are taunting the internet. There is allegedly a Telegram channel dedicated to twisted videos, where some of the 17 involved that night are members of that. And there's a message that reads, "Fans of fish, are you guys hurt?" Fish is an emoji meaning Yu Menglong because it's a homonym to Yu's last name. Yu also means fish. And Chinese internet users returned fire. They ordered funeral wreaths to the home of Ji, which is the owner of the apartment that Alan passed away at. And they also sent cockroaches to Chen Qing-sung, or Xi's home address. The reason behind this ongoing war between the two sides, you could say, is that recently internet users have been focusing on the dark schemes that they've uncovered around Alan Yu. And it raises the important question, what if many celebrities in China, their so-called mysterious fall or mysterious self-inflicted ending is in fact not so coincidental? What if it includes famous names like Coco Lee? Here are the latest developments of the case of Yu Menglong. The list of people involved have expanded to 31, although the 17 prior are the direct involvements, and the 31 is more of the expanded association around what happened to him. These include other singers, celebrities, movie and TV stars in China. And there's also a revelation about when did the pain and the misery start. As we have more and more videos showing you in different public events, live streams, or just videos being taken that clearly have marks and different levels of appearance alterations, if you know what I mean, that's been covered up by makeup, and that's obviously a sign that he's been through something. As well as a museum district that is core to this whole, I would say, the central question of what has happened to him. So first, let's start with what we still don't know. First of all, we have no idea where Yu's body is, and we don't really have a formal investigation from the police, and in fact, we don't even have a conclusive police report. And there's also no ideas on the whereabouts of Yu's immediate family and relatives. And simply the last but most important is the process of how he passed. First, let's go over that 31 people list. Now, the exact names, I won't go into details because it'll probably confuse you more than anything, but the core sort of understanding of the list is that it's an expansion of, I guess you would say, the cover-up, right? Because you have the initial list of the 17 which were involved in sort of the final part of it. But the decades since Yu Menglong has known these people, there needs to be the circle that it protects what is going on behind the scenes. Such as, say, when he gets a mark on his face, who is going to do the makeup to cover it up? Who is going to be the bodyguard that, watches him rather than protect him? Who is handling all of the arrangements for where he should be, where he's going, or the cover-up for even the technology side of things. So in my view, this 31 list is not the end. It's actually a work in progress. Now, aside from the common belief now that the story goes, he goes there that night, he faces all of these, and then there is a USB stick that they're trying to get out. He is twice thrown out, and then actually on the first one they took him to a clinic, extracted the USB, and then that's when the things ended. But along with the last episode where we recovered the what happened to his dogs, it seems that Yu Menglong has known these people for a decade. Since the time he's been in the entertainment circle around 2014, 2015, and many have compiled these shots of Yu in different settings where you clearly see that something has happened to his face or parts of his body. Because of what I just said, the things that you have to deal with when you're trying to alienate, but also at the same time silence this person from telling the world about it. Now, the next thing is, I think what everybody is talking about right now is the 798. It's an art district in Beijing, and there's many museums. Many of them do these modern art exhibits, and we have no idea where Yu's body really is. Could be in a hospital somewhere, or as some rumors suggest, that it's actually in the underground part of one of these museums called the Red Brick Museum. Now, while I can't give you the confirmation on where the body is, what I can say, and I and others do believe this is, I think, 90% plausible, is some sort of a human specimen project that they're really into, like a twisted way. Let me explain. 798 is this area in Beijing that's where, all the cool hip kids go to take photos, because you got the art walks, you got the graffiti, you got the museums, right? You have all of the things that makes that part hip and cool. Now, within this area, which is actually frequently visited by Yu Menglong himself, but also others who are part of this, and internet users found many photos, even videos, suggesting that some type of misery happened in one of these museums or multiple museums. It was one of the locations that they had taken Yu Menglong to for various reasons. But there's also these really disturbing displays and exhibits. Some of them aren't from, some of them are from, let's say, a Japanese artist or other artists around the world, but it's the fact that they choose to curate them for this museum or for different museums, such as the ones with the red strings, right? You see this one here, it has red strings attached to shoes. You have red strings attached to briefcases or luggage cases, and then you also have red string, just the idea of the symbolism, right? Some interpret it as blood vessels, some interpret it as some sort of a ritual offering type of thing. Again, there's no way that you can tell because technically art is up to interpretation, especially these modern arts, but it's just this eerie, depressing, but also just kind of frightening idea of using the red strings. Like, it doesn't make me feel comfortable watching or reading or seeing these photos. And people find that there's actually articles of clothing that look like it belonged to Alan Yu or ones he's worn before. And not only that, he isn't the only one here. Before we talk about the other people, let's first talk about the surveillance footage. So in here, what they're making an excuse for it to be some sort of a friendly prank play on the ground wrestling type of thing is to many other people seeming like he's just being in misery. He's being targeted here. And some believe that this was actually in one of these museums. Now, one of the museums people frequently bring up is the Red Brick Museum, because one of the perpetrators, C, he posted a photo here showing that he's visited this. So some believe that this is like a dark, twisted reflection of what the group is into. So I mentioned there's other people, right? There's a Chinese celebrity named Qiao Renliang, or Kimi Qiao, and he and Alan Yu actually share the same manager from the same agency before both of their passing. Then there's also these body plastination displays in these exhibits, and one of them strangely looks like Kimi. The investor behind Sing China and the TV station that put it up, Coco Lee, who's this famous Hong Kong singer that passed away, was on a program called Sing China, which is like a copy of The Voice, was also invested by the same person that owns the agency of Yu Menglong. To this day, there's no forensic examination of Coco Lee's passing, but again, in my opinion, just how many of these mysterious cases we've seen so far in the Chinese entertainment, it's very hard to be convinced that this is actually what it is. And the person that's invested in all three, technically, his name is Li Reigan, a Chinese media mogul. And we also have photos where it shows that both Kimi and Alan seemingly to have lost their molars. Again, we can paint the picture ourselves. We can't really find what the exact reason that would be, because I don't think celebrities should have lost their molars for any regular reasons. It's not like they're doing heavy stunts or getting punched in the face all the time, unless, if you know what I mean. But that's just one of the many pieces of the circumstantial evidence, because we can't ever get the direct ones. In fact, speaking of the body plastination, there's a monk in China. He's called the most handsome monk in China, and he is also believed to have been part of this plastination display. Not that this is somehow a confirmation, considering that many people, especially having that bulging vein in their temple area, does not mean that they're automatically the same person. But if you compare the nose, the cheeks, the mouth, and the eyes, yeah, it does look pretty similar. And guess what? Some sources say that all three of them were in that same agency. So it's like you put these things together, it just doesn't make sense that all of the mystery around these celebrities, and they happen to be somehow associated to the same talent agency, by the way, which has way more than just these few that have passed, and also to just the surrounding stuff. Like I mentioned, there's some rumors that suggest that Alan Yu's body is in one of these museums, and if we were to guess, that circle is quite small, even though Beijing is huge. I think that there is some level of conclusion we can at least draw from all of these circumstantial evidence, which is that this is not just some simple case of falling from a building. Given the fact that in our last episode, I said I don't really believe in the ritual, sacrificial stuff to get rid of bad luck for Xi Jinping, just because it's kind of hard to explain supernatural stuff, whether they're real or not. But what I can vouch for is this idea that could be a human specimen project. Where exactly do these museums get their plastinations from? Well, in China, there's two big firms that do this. Now, body exhibits in China have long been controversial, mainly because the procurement of bodies has been one that's not only opaque, but the sources are likely from so-called kill orders. Now, specifically, there's a biomedical firm based out of Dalian City, a coastal city in northeastern China, that has been doing this since the early 2000s. And obviously, and the surrounding controversy of the procurement. Have you ever heard of something called Body the Exhibition or Body World? These exhibits contain these various, very much, real looking plastinations because they are made from real bodies of both animals and humans. And it's a very comprehensive thing. I've never seen it because I've heard about these boycotts and controversies around the origin of the bodies, so I've never been to one of those. So there's two people you need to know. The first is Sui Hongjin, the founder of Bodies. And then the second person is Gunther von Hagens of Body World. These two people, they're not strangers. Gunther was the mentor of Sui, but they turned into rivals when both of these started a company based out of Dalian to do the exact same thing, which is body plastination. But the question is, where did they get these from? Now, in the early 2000s, around the time that forced organ harvesting was becoming an issue that has happened to a huge number of Falun Gong practitioners, the same thing with the rise of this body plastination business. At the onset of their business, they had already acquired 100 plus bodies to do this. So the fact that if you hear now that Xi Jinping has openly talked about living till he's 150, you know that forced organ harvesting is something that happens in China to a huge number of religious believers, but also likely now to regular people as well. And then you also hear the fact that there's this human specimen situation going on. It makes you think that, well, clearly it's not a normal country. And you'll be right, because 3 months before the passing of Alan Yu, there was an order of procurement for this firm in Dalian to essentially obtain a body for a medical center in Beijing. And Kimmy, 3 months prior to his passing, there was also another order for body procurement, again, from the same firm. And given the fact that we see these displays and the photos look so similar, it's very hard not to think about what really goes on in that. Again, I'm not saying this is conclusive evidence. I'm just saying that I know a lot about what happens on that side because of this forced organ harvesting tie. Also, there was a long rumor that the former governor of Dalian, during that time these firms were rising up, the wife found out that he was having a mistress, so he ordered the mistress, who was a TV anchor, to be plastinated. Now, if you think this is too much and you don't believe what I'm saying, here's a video, a confession from a Chinese transplant surgeon. He works at the Rocket Force Hospital, and here's him literally talking about the availability or the selection of things.
裂肝啊，这极品肝，你不是记者啊？一看见不是，我前天做了那个2月11号，这不也做了一个，你的肝的质地很好。一两周就带出一个病人做手术啊。
一些练气功的，他说练气功的那种特别好的，您能可以上
看他的病情能等，咱就调好的。每次呢，我把信给你，我把然后你觉得年龄大，咱就再等下一个啊。
60岁以下，然后呢，这个他要是能够这个就是练什么呢？练气这调息的呀，就就是所说的纯属用气来锻炼身体。哪有那么年太多了。
You can select organs? Is this like a grocery store? What has transpired since Alan Yu's passing clearly shows us that this is not a one-off. This is an entire scheme that happens in the underground, or maybe it's just simply not familiar to most people. And to not underestimate what the CCP can do, because these people are doing it with a massive amount of political backing, right? The reason why Alan Yu suffered the tragic end is because he had no political backing, and he was willing to stand up to those who want to do the hidden rules on him or do the Weinstein on him, and he was refusing that. And so these people, they're out to prey on celebrities, yes, but also regular people. It's simply because the connections of various different interest groups is so deeply tied together that they're not willing to expose this because they know that they're so heavily involved in it. And once they do, what comes down isn't just a simple case of the entertainment industry, it's the entire system. And that's something that they cannot afford to do. Honestly, after learning about all this, it feels so disturbing to say this, which is that at some point, it feels like that they've earned a trophy from hunting. Like, as if we're games. And I think that's what many in China started to slowly realize as well. All right, thank you so much for watching this episode on the update of Alan Yu. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and we'll continue to follow the case as more things come out. But once again, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and like this video so more can see what's going on in China. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.